So Epic Universe started with the soft open, and I guess April-ish. People were able to buy tickets, and early May pass holders were able to buy tickets, and then May 22nd it officially opened. And so it's been about 6 months of operations, and we've seen the worst of it. And now we wanted to kind of see, what is it like 6 months later? So we went back to Epic Universe to see how it's holding up and what we think of the parks about 6 months in. And some things were pleasant surprises, and some things maybe I think need a little more attention. But yeah.
There's some things that I'm impressed with in the last 6 months of time. There's some things that may have stayed the same, but maybe bother me more because instead of them being fixed, they're still there. So they feel like an even bigger problem. It's not just one problem, now it's two. The problem is the problem and the fact that it hasn't been fixed yet, that kind of thing. But I guess I would start by saying that we came back on comp tickets that we got because we paid for tickets our third visit. Our first visit was totally comped. Our second visit was partially comped. And our third visit was we completely paid for it. And now this is our fourth visit. And so we are coming back. We decided to give the resort some time. We haven't been since June. We've been busy with other stuff. So we were like, let's come back. Let's give it some time and give them a few months and see how things look. So we decided to record a podcast episode commemorating the park being open for 6 months-ish. And we wanted to take the opportunity to talk about that. But did you know that there is a giant swinging pendulum clock arm that ushers in the time room scene? Or I guess, not the time... Well, yeah, it is the time room. There's two time room rooms, right? There's the one that has the time turners, and then you move into the giant room with all the giant pendulum clocks. And when we rode Ministry this time, it was the first time that we had seen the giant pendulum, among other effects. There was some changes that had been made to that ride, and we'll talk about a few more of those later as we talk about the Ministry area. But there was a nice new physical prop. Well, new. I don't know. I've never heard of this prop. Had you heard of this prop before? This effect?
I'd always just seen it sit there, but never saw it work prior to this visit.
To my knowledge, I didn't know that it was supposed to move, and no one had told us anything about it. So I was like, wow, it's a new effect. I'm sure people knew about it. I'm sure lots of people knew, but that was a did you know for us.
And there were a few more surprises on the ride, which we'll discuss a little bit later. And a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sean.
This is Alex.
And you're listening to another episode of Coaster Kings Radio. And today's episode is, as we've already mentioned, all about Epic Universe. And like Alex said, we did get comp tickets, but comp tickets is in our experience when we bought full price tickets in June was honestly so terrible. Everything was down. We waited in lines over and over just to get the queue dumped. It was just a very, very bad experience to the point where the park actually offered us to come back and give us tickets. And so we had pretty much all year to redeem them. We just had to show up and, with our case number, and then they would just print out tickets so we could go in. And we went on a Saturday, which, mathematically speaking, I think for most theme park enthusiasts, Saturday, God. But, I feel like in Orlando, maybe it doesn't make much of a difference. And to be honest, it was a Saturday, but it was crowd-wise very pleasant. It was busy, but it wasn't anything I was actually lighter than I expected for a Saturday. Let me just put it that way. We had great weather, which is why we picked that day, among other reasons. We didn't really have much of a window this year to really go, and so it all just kind of worked out, and the staff was incredibly nice to us. So from the start, it was a really kind of good experience because we get to the customer service, we wait in line for a little bit, and then the lady helping us, and I wish I had caught her name because I'm bad with that kind of stuff, but she was so sweet and so kind, and she asked us all sorts of things. And of course, we were wearing our matching outfits, which quickly turned into a conversation piece. And then she ended up giving us each 2 individual Express Pass, tickets to go, for whatever ride that is a Ministry or Minecart. And that was very, very sweet. So they really did took good care of us, and a service recovery from our honestly very miserable experience in June. They really they turned it right around when we arrived on Saturday, so that was pretty awesome actually.
It was a great way to start the experience. Like, it was like a masterclass in customer service 101, because it was like, she was so friendly, and she was like, "Are you guys celebrating anything?" And we were like, "Well, we did celebrate our 5-year wedding anniversary over the summer, but we didn't have time to do anything because we were so busy working." She was like, "Oh," she made us the little buttons and like celebrating 5 years. Like, it was really, really sweet. She was so, and she even apologized. She's like, "Sorry to hear that, like, your last visit wasn't positive." You okay over there? She's like, "I'm sorry to hear your visit."
Yeah.
Was it positive? But we were like, "Oh." She's like, "Thank you guys for coming back." And we're like, "Oh, yeah, it's our pleasure." But yeah, it was like
we were
really
excited to come back because, of course, Epic Universe, like, we had 3 visits, but let's face it, very first visit, Ministry wasn't open. Second visit, we got Q-dumped from Ministry. Well, actually, we got Q-dumped once, I think, and then we got on the ride once, and then it broke down like first scene, and we just rode through the whole thing with the black screens. Terrible experience. And then we got a return.
They gave us
express
passes
pass to
to
return,
come back, but we didn't have
not
tickets.
like tickets, but just like express pass. So then we bought tickets just so we can actually go and ride Ministry. But then that visit ended up being a complete chaos. So, I mean, it wasn't very hard to make a good impression on us as long as the park was in decent operational shape. Because when we went in June, and this was after opening of the park, we were like, man, they should have opened this park later because it was just operationally not ready. And we hadn't even done a podcast episode about it after that visit, because we did an episode about Epic Universe after our first 2 visits, but then never did one after the third. But now coming, kind of full circle after the 4th, it's nice to see the park finally in its like normal operating phase.
Yeah.
You can tell that they worked out a lot of the kinks, I guess, because that on June, it just felt like it was still like rough, soft opening to me. But yeah, and we of course had to wait for Stardust Races to reopen after, that whole situation. So, all things considered, I will preface this whole episode with the fact that we had a really good time. We had a fun time, but of course we're critics, and of course we travel a lot for theme parks, and we've done a million little parks this summer. So also check out those episodes about that. But of course, there's a couple things that did stand out to us, both positive and negative. But Alex will be the guidance today of our episode. He's going to guide us through Epic Universe, and I'm going to give commentary on that.
So I wanted to start with Celestial Park. Obviously, that's a good place to start. That's technically we're kind of going in the order of which we did things. Maybe a little jumping around toward the end, but we did start in Celestial Park. Our first ride was Stardust Racers because Ministry was down for opening. Celestial Park, for me, has never been my favorite. I've never been like a huge cheerleader of Celestial Park because I don't feel like, for a place that is supposed to be like exceptionally beautiful, it's just nice. Like, it's not unbelievably gorgeous or anything. Sean, you made a good point that like walking through it, you're like, this is still like an American's idea of a garden or like something that's pretty, because it's still...
Being European and having obviously my very fair share of gardens and parks and all that sort of thing, and then we frequent Asia a lot, and yes, we do theme parks a lot, but we also end up in a lot of city parks. I make a big point of going to city parks, and all over Asia, those are also very nice and very landscaped and not concretey. And then you get to the Americans' version of a park, and it still feels very concretey. And I can't wait for the trees to grow in, because then I think eventually a lot of the concrete walkways will be covered and will feel more shaded. And it feels, like I want to get to the point where I peek through the trees and see, the carousel, and I see the hotel. I don't want to just stare at it while my face is burning off because the sun is reflecting on the bright surface. That's just not a park. However, one thing that it could have done from the get-go that is not related to vegetation growth is not use concrete, because concrete is just a cheap situation. Nice theme parks, nice quality theme parks all over the place, including Disneyland Paris, and I was starting the Animal Kingdom has moments like that where the midways, even if they're maybe in the base concrete, they're not just clean slabs of concrete that are maybe painted over like Epic Universe. They are oftentimes like tile work or like brickwork, especially in Disneyland Paris, and Shanghai Disneyland is really good about that too. The flooring is just, it's expensive, but it makes for a much nicer experience. And so now when you walk into Epic Universe, hate to say it, but the floors are they're just plain old concrete. But the Six Flags Park is plain old concrete too. So like, where is the premium factor in that? It's non-existent. If you're going to be like, well, we're putting the park back into the theme park, well, the last thing I'm going to find in a nice European or Asian park is concrete. So it's like, well, are we putting the park back into the theme park? Because as of right now, it just looks like the concrete is there just like every other theme park. So for me, there's a couple things about that where I just feel like from the get-go, it should have been better. And it's not something that's going to get better with time, unlike the vegetation, which is going to get better with time. And of course, Animal Kingdom, for example, you mentioned this all the time, Alex. When Animal Kingdom opened, yeah, it wasn't that lush. It felt kind of open. It wasn't a jungle. And now we're years later, and it feels very lush, and it's, you know, like the vegetation's grown in. So I can see past that with Celestial Park easily, because I know you're going to open a new theme park. You're not going to be able to put giant mature trees in there right off the bat. But concrete, to me, is a big offender when you're going to do the whole, like, oh, it's a park with a theme park thing. Because, like, I hate to say it, but concrete is like, I don't know. It just feels cheap to me a little bit.
And it's just not very durable. Not only is it not nice to look at, but it's like it's cracked and broken in places. They've already been patching it up in
a
spots.
lot of places. And the patching is not painted.
It's like the floor is an opportunity to continue your story. If we're putting our Imagineering, you know, hats on, it's like, oh, it's part of it. It's everything. If you're not using every medium to tell your story, then you're missing out on something. And there's areas of the park that have really great flooring that look really nice. And other Universal parks too, for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, on that topic, I mean, if you look at How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berg, using the giant wooden boardwalk that pretty much stretches from practically the entrance all the way to where Hiccup's Wing Gliders is, and then using that creative concrete that's more like a sand vibey concrete.
Yeah, it's like a stencil concrete.
It's like a world of difference compared to what Celestial Park had to get.
Yeah, textured flooring makes a huge difference. There's parts of Celestial Park that are painted concrete and stenciled, like when there's a focal point or like if it's in front of a restaurant or something. But then a lot of it just feels very bland. The area already kind of feels a bit bland. It feels like a very nicely landscaped business park or something. You know, it doesn't feel like at this time around it really had sort of like a Disney Springs vibe to it, but like not as nice. It felt kind of empty and insubstantial. And even though the park was full of long lines, it felt like there were just these large vacant midways that weren't very nice to look at either.
So, and I'm going to jump the gun on my opinion here. First of all, I want to mention, I was going to say this for later in the episode, but this is a good time to tie it in. So first of all, I want to mention, I do like the aesthetic they went for, and I mentioned that last episode of Epic Universe 2, is that I love the aesthetic. It's almost kind of giving like Disneyland Paris Discovery Land, like very clean, ironworkish, kind of celestial, steampunky vibe, right? Like we know what we're talking about. Like it almost feels heavily inspired by Discovery Land in a way. But I'm saying that's a good thing. However, both in Celestial Park and also around the park, the quality of this feels like very low quality to me. And we frequent Chinese theme parks a lot. And I think a lot of Chinese theme parks kind of have this kind of status. It's kind of people are aware that the quality of these parks gets a tad lower. And some parks, I mean, I'm not going to say it's like a Sunac Park. I'm not going to say it's a Happy Valley. Like, that's not fair. But it doesn't feel to me like a premium product that, again, Universal really tries to push that they are. Because I just think that when you look at the overall finishes, like there's a lot of paint peeling. There's It's just the materials that are used that
There's,
are
like,
supposed to look
crumbling
like they are
materials.
chrome, but they're
There's-
wood, and they're peeling, and they're crumbling. The stucco that's being used, the window sills are just this like Business Park metal window sills. But if you look at this and it's coming up like every few steps you take in the park, to me it feels like a Chinese Phantom Wild parks. And while the Phantom Wild parks are really, really great, and for Chinese regional parks they are amazing, they're still a Chinese regional park. They are not a Disney. They're not a what you would expect from Universal. But then when you walk around Epic Universe, it doesn't feel like what I'm expecting from a Disney Universal park. It feels like what I'm expecting from a nicer, higher end Chinese regional park. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like there's room for things to feel embellished, and they're just not there. When you go to a park like Disneyland Paris, the embellishments around Main Street USA are so over the top, it's almost garish. It's like the embellishments have embellishments at Disneyland Paris. In Celestial Park and like in the entrance areas and stuff. Like when we were in line for guest services, I was looking at the windows, the guest service windows, and they were tall semicircular windows on the top. But they had no trim. They didn't have like any sort of texture or theme to them. They were just a semicircle shape. And then in the windows, they had decals, like stickers, to sort of recreate the idea of like an artistically paned window with like a design on it, but it's a sticker, like it's a vinyl sticker. And just that alone, like that kind of going in the direction of vinyl stickers instead of using trim and using individual panes of glass and stuff. It's just that's the kind of stuff that is indicative of a theme park where you can tell that there was budget cuts and that there was corner cutting and that there were places where they knew the money was going to go, because there's other parts of the park that have those level of embellishments. Like the Harry Potter stuff is embellished. Like the entire park was the same quality as Ministry of Magic, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah. But it's like cheaper materials.
The materials used in Harry Potter, and I'm talking the entire land, you can just tell there was budgets, there was expectations, there were contracts that needed to be fulfilled. But then in Celestial Park and the park's entrance, all that kind of stuff. And I always say this in a lot of Chinese parks, and I don't want to keep bringing up Chinese parks, but just because I feel like this is the best correlation I can draw here, the most accurate situation, is that the longer you look at something, the worse it gets. And that is, for me, really the case with Epic Universe, and particularly Celestial Park and the park's entrance and ticket booths, like all that kind of stuff. If I stare at a directional sign for too long, I'm starting to see peeling paint. I'm starting to see exposed wood. I look at a wall for too long, I'm starting to see stucco. I'm starting to see paint indifferences. I'm starting to notice lights that aren't working. And this just continues on. So it feels to me like it's very cute if you look at it for 1 second, take a photo of it. But if you're really going to start looking at the quality of stuff, it is just not, it's not high quality. It's honestly kind of cheap feeling and looking. Sorry, it's just what it is.
I feel like has basically, I would just say my opinion of Celestial Park has not really gotten better, except for the fact that the landscaping has started to grow in, and some of the safety fences that they had to add to the area after the fact, which like I've always, these things have pissed me off from day one. Some of the like unplanned safety fences and stuff around Celestial Park that they had to add, basically because the state came in and inspected it and said this isn't adequate. Like the barriers and stuff that you have aren't adequate. It's too easy for guests to wander into unsafe spaces inside of Celestial Park. You have to put these fences up. And the shrubs and plants and reeds and things that they've planted are starting to grow up around those. And fortunately, there's some of that is also happening in Darkmoor with Werewolf, where all the extra nets and fencing and stuff is starting to feel a little more disguised because of the plant growth. But unfortunately for Celestial Park, the only improvement that I can glean from the last 6 months of operation is the plant growth. And everything else either feels the same or it feels worse in some way. Like, cutting walk-around characters, There's the area music is weird. At one point, they were playing Harry Potter area music in Celestial Park. It made no sense. There is like close, like when we were walking from like Astronomica, which is don't get me started on Astronomica because I just like I will be very negative about that splash pad being labeled as an attraction. But I digress. There's a walkway between Astronomica and Darkmoor where there's like benches, like wooden benches, wooden and stone benches that you can clearly tell were placed there later. Like they decided after the fact, somewhere along the way, that they needed more places to sit. And then there's like a patio umbrella behind it situated over it to provide some shade, which is like an appreciated thing. You can tell this was like the result of feedback from people who said that there's not enough, it's too hot, there's not enough places to sit, that's not in direct sunlight. But the solution, which I hope is temporary, feels very much like they just swung by the garden center at Home Depot and got, you know, a commercial use or home use like patio umbrella and set it up behind, you know, a bench that like a normal bench that you could find anywhere that doesn't feel like anything related to Celestial Park or whatever. So that's just kind of, there's things that feel even more bothersome now because of like either things that haven't been addressed from the soft open or things that have been poorly addressed or inadequately addressed, cheaply, quickly, not in a way that feels like it, where it just seems very obvious that there were very easy things that they forgot to do or didn't consider or didn't think about, that we're now seeing in place. And I think Celestial Park is the worst offender.
A few things to do want to mention about Celestial Park I do actually like is, of course, light is a big thing in this park, and this is a great nighttime park. Like if you're going to talk Orlando parks for nighttime, I may even say it's number one. Like I think it's a great nighttime park.
Yeah.
And at nighttime it really shines, no pun intended. And so all the cool light fixtures I really enjoy. So you've got the really cool globe-looking light fixtures that you find between Nintendo and Darkmoor, and you find between Stardust and Harry Potter's entrance. Mm-hmm. Like that whole, like the light fixtures are really cool. I love the neon synchronization. The fountains look great at night. This is really one of the parks where the shortcomings are honestly not even that visible at night. So
yes,
and I'm not saying that's why it's so great at night. It's just at night they did a good job. I feel like that was a focus for them, and that's something that they actually did do very well. You know, credit where credit is due. I do appreciate walking around that park at night, seeing Stardust, you know, fly through its layout and having, you know, the really cool light up marquees. Of course, the portals really kind of come to life at night because I feel like the LED screeners of them is a little bit less awkward when there's like daylight on the, you know, on the screens, because now it's just the lighting coming from the LED screens and not the daylight reflecting on the material that's encasing it. Stuff like that during the day can really kind of get my critical senses going. But at night, it's one of those parks where I'm like, wow, like loving just walking around at night, seeing the ambiance, all the different lighting fixtures, all the way that they piece all of that together. To me, it's a great nighttime park. Like we were, I think talking about, like, why not open the park at like noon to keep it open till midnight? Like this is this park is meant to be experienced at night, man. Like this is a nighttime experience.
Nighttime does a lot of heavy lifting here. It does the park a lot of favors, and that I feel like that's actually true of a lot of Orlando parks. I have always famously, and I know you feel the same way, especially in the Tron era, but like Magic Kingdom, you do well to be in Magic Kingdom after 7 p.m. because nighttime does Magic Kingdom a ton of favors. Because we've never been the biggest fans of Magic Kingdom. We've never been big cheerleaders of Magic Kingdom. And some of the aesthetic shortcomings of a park like Magic Kingdom or Epic Universe in this case are a lot less obvious at night. Things like sightline issues, material issues, things like, you know, cracks in the concrete floor, like that kind of stuff. It is a lot less noticeable at night. So I do look forward to spending more time at Epic Universe during the nighttime. Now that we won't be wasting it sitting on the floor of the Ministry of Magic for 3 hours, like waiting for the ride to reopen, you know, that kind of thing.
And speaking of Ministry of Magic, and at night, like, now that it's actually consistent operation, we managed to get on twice in an hour in the last hour of the park opening.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And we waited through most of the queue. It's great.
I would say the last 2 hours of the day were the best. Like, it's nighttime, it's beautiful, weather's great, the lines are getting shorter. After 9 p.m., things really quiet down in that place. I look forward to the
still missing like a nighttime fireworks drone show, but
yeah, that's true.
They made such a point of putting that giant lagoon in there with the fountains and stuff, and now I feel like we actually need like a cool show there, you know. But that's besides the point.
And then as for Celestial Park, like Stardust Racers was great. We rode that 6 times this visit. It's running really well. It runs
still Team Yellow.
Yeah,
personally,
it's as good as runs as well as I recall.
Stardust Racers really is, I think, for Universal a slam dunk. Of course, there was this whole kind of struggle with the unfortunate death of a rider, and I won't go into details on that because that's not what this episode is about. But I'm just glad it's back, and I think it is really, really a slam dunk. I think it's one of the best roller coasters ever made, and in the whole Universal chain, it's probably my favorite Universal roller coaster. Maybe follow close about Battlestar Galactica from a nerd perspective, but they're both racing coasters in a way. Man, Stardust is really good. They did it right, and being a Celestial Park themed, I love it.
I just think that's where really Celestial Park really shines. Is that ride? I love the dynamic. It's so dynamic when you walk up to it, and the big crater, that the dueling moment of the ride where that takes place. It really feels like a giant asteroid has crashed into Celestial Park. And the smithereens of the impact are the roller coaster, taking off into all of these directions. It's just a fabulous ride. I would feel very jaded if I felt like there was something realistically that the ride could improve upon, other than just like day-to-day operations. But like that's neither here nor there. It's hardly the ride's fault. It's not really anybody's fault. It's just, it's a delicate dance of putting lots of people on a big ride. But like, I think the ride is doing exactly, it's really in its stride right now. It's, it was a busy day. Ride lines for Ministry hit 3 hours at one point. Mario Kart was up to 2.5 at one point. Stardust Racers, 25 minutes all day.
Yeah,
all day.
Well, another thing about where Stardust shines for me is that, aesthetically speaking, which again I feel like it's very heavily inspired a little bit by like Space Mountain in Paris, with like a giant outdoor station with like that iron work. Maybe not as detailed, to be honest, but the whole aesthetic of it works so well. And then you have like the tiles, like the metro station kind of tiles when you enter the queue. Aesthetically speaking, they actually did a really good job because. Yeah, maybe I'm super critical, but if you compare it to more of their aesthetic coasters they've done, like Rip Ride Rocket, rest in peace, but also Hollywood Dream, and then even stuff like Flying Dinosaur, coasters like that. I mean, most of the coasters at Universal, like let's face it, unless they're like one of the new generations, they're not very pretty, like at all. They're just like switchback houses with box stations.
It's pretty straightforward. It's not like it's not like this immersive experience.
Yeah. So the aesthetic and the landscaping and the overall feel of the station with the trains rolling in on the brake runs and the grandness of it all, I actually really appreciate it. I think it's a step up from a lot of the other more cookie cutter, straightforward roller coasters in the chain, which is most of Universal's big coasters, if we're going to be honest, like across the world.
Yeah.
Stardust is, I think, one of the nicer ones that isn't completely themed. Like Hagrid or Velocicoaster, but other than that, or Mummy, for like a big outdoor
for a ride
standard,
that is
no
not
IP
like an
coaster.
immersive ride. It's just like
it's one of the nicer products they've delivered.
A really clean, likable, aesthetically pleasing. But yeah, so that's I think Celestial Park was the area that we had the most to talk about.
I think that was really what came forward to us as being the most. Probably even negative. Like I think it's all upward from here. To be honest with you,
So I don't want to. We don't want to make this like too much of a knockdown drag out. We want to keep it under an hour, and we want to keep it cute. But like Celestial Park and the good, bad, and ugly of Celestial Park was, I think, like the biggest point of focus. But then I guess before we move on to Dark Universe, Darkmoor, I want to say that we had a positive experience at the Meteor Astropub. It was a little pricey, but like the food was good. The service was great. The staff were really wonderful.
It did make me realize that they needed more food and beverage capacity though, because we had to wait in a pretty long line outside just to go into the Astropub, which is not like a prime dining experience. There's also lines coming out of Potter restaurants. They need to have more food and beverage, in my opinion. Even though they have a pretty good amount, it's such an integral part of the theme park experience these days. And it's not like I have a bunch of small quick surface stuff. Like, it's not like the classic like fry stand is a thing. You really have to go to one of the big themed restaurants, and Astropub is one of the smaller, quicker dining locations.
And I think even stuff was like well staffed and well operated. I think it's just like all systems go for Epic Universe. Like, the people are there. Like, it's time to open up. It's time to open that third major Celestial Park restaurant, the one that's like right off at the entrance that originally they weren't even going to build yet. The one next to the Starbucks. That's allegedly going to be a Mexican restaurant.
Oh, God, I love that idea. Okay.
It's time. Yeah, it's already time for them to up the capacity in this park. Another major restaurant. There's a shopping. There's a decorative or a shopping storefront in Wizarding World that is being converted into an actual storefront, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm sure there's room. I'm pretty sure there's another slot for a major restaurant in that area. But yeah, I would say that it was overall a positive experience. Darkmoor is the other realm of Epic Universe besides Celestial Park that I feel like has like major areas room for improvement. Yeah. This time, I will say, like I mentioned earlier, that the netting situation around Werewolf looked a lot better because of how quickly the plants have grown in, but it's like still very irritating to me the way that Burning Blade Tavern is completely obscured by this roller coaster. This time it really felt like the roller coaster, like it was never more obvious than it is now that the roller coaster was an afterthought, and like I just don't think they thought it through. I think that having the roller coaster there was really smart, and like people ride it. Like, it has a 90-minute wait at times, which is its own problem because I feel like there is no way that ride is a satisfying guest experience to wait 90 minutes for, especially when the e-ticket ride next to it, 25 minutes tops throughout the day. But I just think like the balance of the area, the whole feng shui of it with Burning Blade Tavern in the back is just totally ruined. And to make matters worse, on this visit, the Burning Blade Tavern, it was open, but the windmill wasn't turning, and it definitely wasn't on fire. So it was like, the area felt so small on this visit because we didn't bother with the coaster this time. That ride, frankly, is not that great, and it's not comfortable for tall people, and it's a very time-consuming experience. So on this visit,
for me has always been, and I think I'm alluding to what you're kind of also going for, is that the area just doesn't feel like what's promised in a way. Like, it's not really a village. It's just like a very tiny little entrance street.
Yeah.
And then the big ride, the big roller coaster, and then the Burning Blade Tavern in the background. And it also is very disjointed, but it by no means feels like I'm actually in a village. And maybe I'm just like used to small European villages. I don't freaking know. But
it just
doesn't feel like I'm in a village. But then when you go to Hogsmeade, there, by doing the two walkways, especially some of the ones in like like the ones that aren't Orlando, because Orlando was kind of an existing pathway they had to convert. It really kind of feels like you can actually kind of walk around more. And then you have, even better, Diagon Alley. You can actually explore. There's actually like like a lot of different walkways you can take, and that feels like a little village, like a shopping street,
the
like
European
a this and that.
Gothic area is something that Universal does so well, and they have done it really well 5 times at least, and 6 times if you count all of the Wizarding Worlds and Diagon Alley and I guess Ministry of Magic. And it's just like, it just feels like that they're capable of more substance. And I will say that like the next e-ticket coming to Epic Universe is almost certainly gonna be in Darkmoor. So like at least there's hope for Darkmoor as far as substance goes. but yeah, this time around, the novelty of the area wearing off, and even though like what's there is good, what they have is good, not counting the coaster. It's just not enough. It just doesn't feel like enough. It feels like a ride, a good ride, and a courtyard, like an entrance plaza for that ride. Because there's nothing enriching about the werewolf coaster. And unless you're intentionally going to Burning Blade Tavern, there's no reason to go back there. And then before you know it, you have an area that doesn't feel like an area. It doesn't feel big because there's not enough going on in what is already a very geographically small area. So this was the area that fell flat for me the most on this visit, I guess, aside from Celestial Park. But at least Celestial Park has more substance and is bigger than Darkmoor. We jokingly called it Dark Less this time because there's just very little. There's just not much to it. We have the Village of Dark Less and a Celestial parking lot.
And I feel like maybe it has a bit of it. Maybe it has a bit to do with the fact that it took a big risk on a franchise here, because of course, How to Train Your Dragon, Super Nintendo, Harry Potter. I mean, those things sell themselves. Like it's not like you need to do market research on how popular it is. And the Monsters was really going to be like kind of a niche thing. I think it turned out well for them. I think the average Epic Universe goer is very thrilled with how Monsters as a concept and Darkmoor as a land has been executed and how it came to Epic Universe. But I think on the drawing board, it was like, well, can't put all your eggs in the Monsters basket if you have these other 3 franchises going around. So I think that's why also it's a smaller land. And I think later they realized, well, doing a theater isn't going to be good in the long run. So let's put a roller coaster in there. Messy execution, but it's still a good choice, I think.
Yeah. The roller coaster has proven itself useful.
Then the dark ride itself, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I just don't think it's all that good. And people are telling me over and over on Instagram too, when we post stories at the park, oh, best dark ride in the world, my favorite thing in the world. And if you have a really like, close association and fandom of like the monster universe, then I can see why, you know, if you're going to build a shitty Tron ride, I'm still going to be a fan because I love Tron. Like, it's that kind of mentality. I get it. And I'm not saying it's a shitty ride, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think it is even in the top 3 at all of Universal Orlando Resort. If it comes like, people treat it like it's like the number 1, the whole resort. There's just a couple things to me that I think I mentioned in the last episode, like facing curtains or walkways and poor transitions between scenes. A lot of animatronics that may not be working on our visit. The lighting is not great. It's stuff like that to me that I feel knocks it down like a tiny bit. Yeah. But I do love the ride system. And
I was praying for things to feel better on this ride than they did during the dress rehearsal. And not only did things not get better, but they got worse. Every negative, mind you, this was my favorite ride in the park. Like, at least my favorite dark ride in the park, based on the first 3 visits, just because I love the ride. I love that it feels different. It feels fresh. The pre-show is probably my favorite pre-show on any ride I have ever experienced. The queue is great.
Yeah.
But God, like everything about the ride that I was willing to give Universal the benefit of the doubt when it came to like synchronizing ride vehicles with scenes, orienting ride vehicles in the correct way to take advantage of the scene, orienting vehicles away from backstage areas that are experiencing light pollution where you're not supposed to see anything or you're supposed to see darkness. Everything about the ride that was already a shortcoming either hasn't been fixed or in some way feels exasperated. In this case, 2 of the major animatronic sequences were running in B mode because it is just, this ride is such a mechanically
B mode here means simply just not working.
Yeah. Or just
because
getting
like
lights
the werewolf is
and
just sitting
not
there, you know,
movement.
like,
Yeah. The part where it takes your picture, the werewolf is supposed to kind of jump out while you're facing up, and it takes your picture. I mean, he was static all day. The final vampire jumping scene, you know, before Victoria subdues him, he was static. It's the ride is just so over the top with its mechanical prowess. It
I think it's just a little bit too ambitious, and they just weren't able to execute it.
They just bit off way
properly.
More than they can chew, and I feel like they've got a long road ahead of bringing this ride up to an operationally consistent place where it's not going to feel like the shortcomings are so glaring. I mean, I feel like Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disney is sort of their version of this, because every time we ride Tiana, there's one or two or three animatronics that are not working to like the degree that they're supposed to, or not working at all. And it feels like Disney, it just cannot get all of the plates in the air at once for this ride. And Monsters is like that, but like double, because it is such an ambitious ride. There is so much. The reset times are so short.
They made a big deal, about, like they're the same ride vehicles practically, maybe a little bit different than Forbidden Journey, but Forbidden Journey has like those walls next to riders' faces, and that's because it kind of helps riders really look forward only. And I almost wish that was the case on Monsters, because on Monsters, well, even then you're facing stuff you shouldn't be facing, but
at
least
Monsters
it would help
puts
a
it
little
right
bit
in your face
not
that
seeing
stuff that you shouldn't see.
Because at least like I on these rides we had on Monsters yesterday or 2 days ago, it was really like, oh god, I can see the screen reset as I'm rolling into the scene, and it's almost like if the timing is even off by half a second on a ride like this, because every scene has to reset every 7 seconds, it's like it's already off. And so like the whole experience can be so easily muddled by like animatronics not working, scenes not resetting on time, light pollution, and that's my biggest issue with this ride. It's just light pollution. The lighting design on this is just not good. And I'm not going to say it's always perfect at Disney. Like some of the Frozen rides, like the Frozen in Hong Kong, the lighting design is not good either. Like, don't get me wrong. Like
Tiana is another ride where the show lighting is jacked up.
Yeah, so
we
the show
Tiana, and we love Monsters.
Where the show lighting is actually good on every ride is Disney Sea. The Oriental Land Company will not take lighting pollution as an option, and I wish that was the spirit every other park had too. But or Efteling, I think, is actually really good with lighting too. Efteling is masterful with lighting.
Yeah,
Efteling is really good.
Is a masterclass.
Yeah,
in
or even
studio lighting,
Symbolica. But so light pollution for me, like having the lights just out in the open, lighting up stuff you're not supposed to see, having light coming from behind on Victoria at the end. A lot of stuff like that, I'm like, oh my god, like it would be better off just turning the lights off altogether and just hoping for the best. I almost just don't know. I'm like, where
are we supposed to be? Are we in the catacombs, or are we at like the local community theater? There's just curtains and
at the
shit
end, it
everywhere.
gets really muddled. I don't know either. Yeah,
it's like there's so much curtains and exposed stage lighting that I just really don't know where I'm supposed to be.
Platforms and whatnot. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be a lot of work to fix all that, though.
It's hard to. I can only say so much about Monsters because it's a very advanced ride. It runs. People like it. The capacity for it is dynamite.
Great capacity.
25-minute wait all day. I wouldn't fucking touch the ride either if it was the one ride in the park, the one e-ticket in the park that had a 25-minute wait all day. I guess that and Stardust Racers.
Let's face it, overall product is still very strong because when you enter Darkmoor, it's like the looming castle, whatever, in the back, and then when you go in, it has a nice aesthetic. The queue is not terrible.
Like the queue. The queue is great. There's 2 pre-shows.
And the pre-show
I love them
is
both.
Great. The station looks pretty good. Just don't look at the
ceilings.
Even the locker
setup is nice, and the post-locker queue is nice.
Of new Universal dark rides, just don't look up because you will see exposed ceilings.
Yeah. It's
even
like
our
Jurassic
beloved
World in
Jurassic
World in Beijing. As much as we love that ride,
same thing. The ceilings are so exposed. Like, if you look up even for a second, you see a giant warehouse.
The hardware exposure is so over the top compared to a ride like Pirates of the Caribbean in Shanghai.
What's weird about it is that like Forbidden Journey and even Green Gods, they do such a good job having like those suspended ceilings where it's like a lot of rock work. Like if you look up, you don't actually see a show building. You see
it
like
all
a
just
top of
goes like it rolls
something.
into the part of the frustration is that that Universal can do this. Like they are capable when it is Warner Brothers and JK rallying up their ass to make it perfect. But when it's their own
franchise,
when it's their own franchise,
less pressure to do it right.
The pressure is not there, and Universal needs pressure. They need a dark ride personal trainer.
Because I would say that like Jurassic World in Beijing is like a 9.5.
Jurassic,
but it could be a 10 if it was like nicer finishes, better lighting, and not exposed ceilings.
If it was tightened up.
And the same goes for me about Monsters.
Ministry is a 10. There's no way around it. It's a perfect 10, but like it's because it's Harry Potter, and like it's contractually obligated to be a 10. But yeah, aside from that, so like that's I think this is. we don't want this to sound like a super negative episode.
Oh my god, now we
but
sound like we're just harping on Epic Universe.
But
like,
I just want to
feel like
say
it's so
that
typical of
like
us.
so much of our experience was very positive, and it's really just like the shortcomings of Celestial Park and Darkmoor that are things that we want to talk about, because wanting
Also,
theme parks to achieve their full potential is our love language.
let's face
we
it,
love doing this.
how good is the episode about Epic Universe if we're only going to talk about the good things that everyone's already talking about? There's like the whole universe is literally talking about how great Epic Universe is. We already did a whole episode about all the stuff we liked and how much we liked it.
Yeah.
So this is, I guess, the episode where maybe we're just being critical. Like, it's 6 months in, like it's time to like face reality. Like, what do we actually think of Epic Universe compared to all of our other travels? And even though it includes a lot of good stuff, it doesn't make for a good episode. You see a million good things on Facebook and Instagram. Like, let's just talk about the stuff that people don't talk about.
The episode is mostly, we're already 45 minutes in. All the good stuff we're about to talk about is just a lot easier to talk about.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo
and
World.
I mean, everything we've talked about so far does have a good aspect of it. You know?
Yes. And there's also things, I still love Monsters. I still love that ride.
I really enjoy the ride too. I just don't love it as much as most people love it, I guess.
We got 2 rides on Mario Kart this time, thanks to our express passes.
Yeah, and talk about something I like. I love Mario Kart. Catch me on Mario Kart.
We are really entering our Mario Kart era.
Long.
I do feel like the ride is extremely chaotic.
Because we bought a Switch.
And it almost... we bought a Nintendo. You guys, okay. I have not had a home gaming console since the Wii. The original Nintendo Wii in 2007. That's how long it has been since I've had a home console. We now have a Switch 2. I went from a 3DS, which I currently have and still play, to a Switch 2. So like I'm really in my Mario era. I'm really in my Pikmin era, you guys. I love Pikmin so much. And so like this time in Super Nintendo World, I had a blast, and it was so cute seeing I love the Pikmin Easter eggs in Super Nintendo World are still like my favorite thing in the world. And this time I just loved them even more. Thanks to the Universal Express passes we got, we did Mario Kart twice. We ended up really with 3 rounds of Express Pass, because when we used our Express Pass to ride Hiccup's Wing Gliders, they did not take them from us. They let us keep them. Another really nice, amazing customer service experience moment. So we got 2 rides on Mario Kart and 1 ride on Hiccup without having to wait in any lines for those, really. And our Mario Kart rides were really positive. I do feel like my criticism of Mario Kart is not anything unique to us, but like I'm starting to understand more why there was such a mixed reaction when the ride first opened, because it is like super overwhelming. And even though we like it even more each time, it is just such an assault on the senses. Like after our second ride, like I had a headache. We've got characters in AR that are basically floating through the air like little holograms, and you're shooting at them with turtle shells. These beautiful physical prop backgrounds that represent the tracks that you're on are getting kind of lost in the shuffle. And then there's also the mechanic of like steering your car and going left or right to like collect coins. It all feels a little disjointed. Like it's easy to love it for what it is.
I don't know if it feels disjointed. I just feel like it's overwhelming.
I just feel like it just
what are you supposed to focus on?
Do I love it? Yes. Do I love the aesthetic and everything? Absolutely. Does it feel like it captures the experience of playing Mario Kart? No, not at all. And it's something that I can say more confidently now that we've ridden it 3 times total. But it's like what it is enjoyable, but what it is not Mario Kart. It doesn't feel, I don't feel like I'm racing. I feel like I am in battle. I feel like I'm on Railroad Warriors, Princess Peach edition.
Oh my God, no. I don't know if I agree with your statements. Mostly because some of the most iconic characteristics of the game, like shooting your shells and racing and the ink in your face and all that is still very present. To me, the problem is just that you have a really pretty dark ride with really beautiful physical sets, which for Universal, it's like, wow, physical sets is awesome. Like we need more physical sets. This is great. So we have a physical set dark ride that you go through. However, you don't get to really appreciate that because you're busy. Like I'm busy getting my 100 coins because I know the 100 coins means I'm going to win. So I'm going to get my 100 coins. But then by the time I get to Rainbow Road, which is like the coolest scene, I'm still really busy about getting my coins. And it's like there's some really cool stuff that I think riders actually miss out on because they're too distracted with the AR stuff.
Yeah.
So I wish there was a way to do maybe a little bit more of a polished dark ride without all of the interactive elements, or have the interactive elements be physical props.
Yeah.
Like,
I just wish it felt more like racing. Nobody's really in the lead. You're not. I feel like it feels more like a battle royale, like what's happening. It doesn't feel like you're going from point A to point B. It kind of just feels like a demolition derby, which is really fun and which is something that Mario Kart does do. But I don't know. This time it just felt a lot more abstract to me, that I'm like, am I racing or am I, I don't know. Like but I will say that the chaos of the experience does actually capture the essence of Mario Kart, because Mario Kart is inherently chaotic. It's just that the racing component, which I feel like is the foundation of the Mario Kart experience, just is not really there. But it doesn't really matter. It's a successful, good ride, and like my negativity about it is more like a nitpick than anything, because I really loved our rides on it this time, and I can't wait to ride it again. It's like went up.
If anything, I think Minecart is overrated.
Donkey Kong.
Like, we didn't even ride Minecart because we just don't like Minecart. Like,
we didn't even go into that area. I love that area, but we just didn't have time. I was too busy. We didn't even get over there. We didn't. Yeah, the two booger coasters, as I call them, Werewolf and Donkey Kong. Like, we just didn't even bother with them this time. We were way more focused on riding Stardust, Ministry, Monsters. And then like we just did Hiccup one time just because the line was really long. It was running great ride as always. This time, like, Isle of Berk gets very busy, and it's a great area, and I really don't have a lot of gripes about it. In fact, it feels like the most well-rounded area in the park in a way, because it has a big play area. It's got lots of interactive elements. It's got a water ride, the water ride for the park. It's got a great roller coaster. The only thing that I really was like puzzled by on this visit that I was thinking about was the Dragon Racers Rally, which is just a pair of Gerstlauer Skyflies, standard edition, but like nicely themed. The ride cycle on that ride is incredibly short. The wait time was 90 minutes. 90 minutes. The ride cycle, you go around 5 times. The first time around, you're still gaining speed, and the 5th time around, you're slowing down. So you really only get 3 revolutions at full speed. The ride cycle itself could not be more than 45 seconds. I didn't count, but it's like pitifully low. Like, I had touched on Werewolf earlier, how like waiting 90 minutes for Werewolf, there's no way that people are coming off of that ride feeling satisfied unless they have Express Pass. And I feel like that's got to be the same way with this Dragon Racers Rally. The queue is not like, it's not like there's this immersive, enriching queue experience. It's just 90 minutes of waiting for an incredibly insubstantial ride experience that, of all of the experiences at Epic Universe, is probably the least special. We've never ridden it because we've never bothered, and like we've ridden exact copies of this ride in other parks. But that's the one like takeaway from Berk this time, because pretty much everything that we've ever had to say about Isle of Berk has been positive. This is the only thing where I'm like, this is not right. Like, it's not right that people will wait an hour and a half for this ride and for the ride cycle to be so damn short. You spend so much money, or you spend so much time loading and unloading your ride, you might as well run it for a longer cycle. Half of what people are waiting for isn't for people to ride, it's for people to get on and get off of the ride. So, like, to that end, if you're going to make people wait an hour and a half, you might as well give them a satisfying experience, something that is actually of substance, and not 5 revolutions on this pendulum thing. But
yeah, I like the aesthetic of them a lot, and I think they're a really nice fit, but for me, they're almost like a thematic thing. They
almost feel decorative. In our world, they're decorative because I never plan on riding it. I would ride Fire Drill before I rode those stupid things, because at least Fire Drill is cool.
And like Alex said, like your rotations are so short you can't even get to flip. And again, I like seeing them go around the area. They're great for kinetic energy. But man, I don't think anyone who waits that long for it is actually satisfied with it. So,
but again,
it's nice to have something like that though, because at this park it kind of lacks that kind of attraction to begin with. Like Yoshi will have a 75-minute wait at like noon. that's barely a flat ride. So
That's another
having
ride
stuff
that I feel like the customer
it's nice
satisfaction
though.
can't be great.
But I couldn't be bothered, But it's
Yeah.
nice to have some rides that aren't big roller coasters or dark rides, because parks just need that, and it's always kind of a struggle to get that out of destination parks. So I guess I can't complain too much on the front. I guess.
I just hope that going forward they find a solution. I want them to make the ride cycle longer at all costs. I don't care how long it makes the line. That ride should be at a minimum 90-second ride cycle. Otherwise, just don't. Like, why? Like, it just shouldn't exist. But yeah, aside from that, one thing that we waited a long time for coffee. This is actually right. I remembered this because the Starbucks that we went to
to get a double
is right
espresso.
next to Isle of Berg. And from the time we walked into the store,
too.
from the time that we left the store with our coffee, took 30 minutes, which just, for me, I just feel like that's a lot. But I digress. Lastly, we will end on a high note with our 3 rides on Ministry of Battle at the Ministry, Harry Potter. We didn't spend a lot of time like in the area aside from riding the ride, but we rode 3 times. My one nitpick about the experience was that, like, when the ride finally opened, we hopped in line. The posted queue time was 90 minutes, and I was comfortable with the idea that it would probably be longer. But the posted wait time when we left was 2 hours, but we waited over an hour. Or we waited over 2 hours. We waited about 2 hours and 10, maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I'm surprised that never at any point in our experience did the posted wait time actually reflect what people were waiting, what we waited. If it had
But that's
gone
a
up
universal
to,
problem worldwide.
Yeah.
Because
It's a
every time I go to
company-wide
Universal
issue.
Park, I mean, like, it's bad in Osaka. It's really bad in Beijing. I mean, it said
Really
like
bad in Osaka.
2 hours for us the entire
Even
time. We waited
Singapore
like
is not
3
great about it.
hours for,
Mhm.
or if not, like 9. I think it said like 85 minutes or maybe it was something like 100 minutes, and then we waited like literally 3 hours. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like anywhere I go, Disney's always super overestimating to the point where, like, if it's like half the wait time, I'm like not even surprised. But then when I go to Universal, I'm like, oh, I better add like 25% in my head, or I'm gonna have a bad time, because Lost Coast is always like that too, Anyway, that's just
But
the way
aside from that,
Universal
I mean,
rolls,
I
guess.
still felt our rides were so good on Ministry. The one that we waited 2 hours and 10 minutes for,
It was
like,
worth
it was
the wait
still
for me, 'cause
so
first of all,
excellent that I
This
wasn't even
time
bothered.
we actually moved. So I had to wait through all the switchbacks outside to go through the Flute Network. Then we had to wait through every single possible switchback they could build inside the Ministry of Magic. And then it just moved the entire time. So even though it didn't move very fast, it moved. Like, I was just walking a step, every few moments. And that helps. Because if you sit still or stand
It
still the whole
didn't feel
time,
like a waste of time. It felt like we were doing exactly what we were there to do, which was to admire the Ministry and to ride the ride. And it never at any point felt as excruciating as like previous experiences with breakdowns and rides.
Yeah, and sitting there for
experiences
hours.
crapping out halfway through.
Having the added effects. So first of all, like, all the added fog effects last time were super neat. I didn't really thought they were missing.
Really nice.
But then adding them, I was like, wow, oh my God, like, it adds an element. So like when Dolores Umbridge changes into a pink outfit and gets out of the elevator, then
awesome.
it's like there's like a
I was like
a plume of fog
I
or
don't
smoke.
remember that.
And then in the archive scene, when you kind of transition between the two screens, and you have that like that wall, that hallway, the corner of all the bookshelves or whatever, there was like some battling going on between the ghosts and whatnot. There was like proofs of smoke or of fog kind of adding to that. And then when you transition out of that scene, there's a bunch of fog. I mean, there was the added fog
There's
to
a
that
huge
giant
plume
creature
that like almost pushes you into the Department of Magical Creatures scene.
And then when you leave the Magical Creatures department, same thing. Like, like the rhino, the rhino-ish creature goes through the wall, and there's like a plume of smoke. And then you turn on the corner, and there's like smoke kind of hanging around the elevator, a crash. Like, there's just, I feel like I didn't realize, I never thought I needed it, but now that it's there, I'm like, wow, this really adds like another element.
Literally another dimension to the experience.
Yeah.
And then of course the physical prop, the swinging pendulum, that helps. There's a lot of this was like a nice improvements to transitioning between scenes, between areas of the Ministry that I didn't know that I needed. They didn't feel like they were missing, but once they were there, it was like, wow, like this really elevates the whole experience. That seeing the big pendulum move in sync with you, it almost like it's like ushering you into to the halls of the time room was awesome. But yeah, the ride was just running flawlessly. It was perfect all 3 times. Our last 2 rides were magnificent because we hopped in line less than an hour before the park closed, and then we were through in time to ride again. And so we hit and quit that ride twice in an hour, and our rides were amazing. Even one of my biggest criticisms, really my only criticism of the ride itself, was that if you are in the far station and your car is parking and you're backing away from the final scene, you can see the elevator car behind you having that final scene with Hermione and Higgledy.
Yeah.
This time there's a big yellow light that shines in your face.
Kind of trying to obscure it. That's
like
really,
obscures.
I think, by far one of the worst things. Yeah.
I had to laugh because I was like, okay, that's pretty smart.
This could be kind of pricey, but you know how like there's a fog screens that they use on rides like Forbidden Journey? They could do like a high density fog screen. I mean, they do fog screens on Gringotts too, to like obscure that roller coaster
I feel like if they just had fog like raining down from the ceiling to obscure your view of that
and then
final
you roll
scene
through the fog
happening
screen into the station, I think that would actually work well because even that transition could, I guess, be tied
easy
to maybe it's a 9.9.
Easy fix. It's the only sightline nitpick for the entire ride. It's just that final, and it's only for if you're coming into that far station. Because if you're facing away from the scene, you don't even notice it.
Cool. Like the big elevators moving up and down.
Amazing.
And like, even though it's on a track, it feels like it has a lot of movement for a dark ride. So they really did kill it with that ride. It's so awesome.
Like I would say, like
for me, the
last time we talked about Epic Universe on the podcast, I said that Stardust Racers was the only perfect 10. But now I feel like the operational improvements and the aesthetic improvements and the upgrades that they've made to Ministry, like Ministry's obviously a 10 now too. There's nothing about the ride.
That's meaning a lot coming from you because you're not a big Potter fan or anything.
I can't stand Harry Potter. That franchise does nothing for me. But my God, like I'd be remiss if I said that there was something about Ministry that could be any better than it is, because it is just mind-boggling.
From like a hardcore theme park dark ride enthusiast, it's just one of the best things they've ever done.
It's one of the few rides that is up there with Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean in terms of like mind-bending, dazzling scenes and Railroad Warriors. I mean,
and Railroad Warriors.
Yeah, just like absolutely massive, mind-boggling scenes and polish, like a combination of ambition and execution, like polished to the nines, but like so over the top, like truly offering a ride experience that is unlike anything else in the world. So yeah, two rides on that. We got our nighttime rides on Stardust Racers.
We got 3 ride totals on that. We got the morning ride and 2 night rides.
And then two more rides on Ministry, and that was a great way to end the night. The last 2 hours at Epic were truly wonderful. They were epic. Yeah. They were truly epic. They were amazing. So that's really what it's about.
Like encompassing, I think the park is doing much better than they were when we went the first couple times. Like it feels like they're actually kind of operating like they're supposed to operate. That's great. Of course, there's some nitpicking about some of the quality stuff. I think a lot of it's easy fixes, but they just got to really make sure they don't fall behind on that maintenance and some of the stuff, because it's going to be looking like it's going to look pretty terrible pretty quick. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest things for me. Overall, I mean, I still think it's a great park, and right now because it's still flashy and new, I personally am like a little more hyped to visit that again than I would be like for Islands of Adventure. Even though I think objectively Islands of Adventure is a much better park, higher quality. Yeah, I do really enjoy Epic Universe. I do enjoy walking around there. I enjoy that it's different and the aesthetic is nice. And all things considered, I think it's a really pleasant park. I've never been a fan of food and beverage at Universal. Like if you want a salt bomb and become a dehydration station, eat a vegetarian dish at any of the Universal parks, and you'll never have to pee again. That's
the
great.
Sausage pepper hoagie that we got from Astropub was the first good thing that we had to eat that was vegan at Epic Universe. They finally took 3 tries, but we finally got a decent vegan dish. And
I do want to check out Blue Dragon because their menu looks pretty good. They've got a couple of really cool Chinese dishes, but most of it is meat. So for me, that's like, as a vegetarian, I'm not the biggest fan of those kind of menus. But it is truly Chinese because, you know, in China, it could be a struggle too to find good vegetarian food.
Yeah, it's actually
having said
very
that, overall, the park is I think it's still a great park, and at night at least I think it really shines.
It's
so
a
if
lot
you're
of
gonna
fun.
give me this
It's
at night, yeah.
it's a fun electric place to be. I'm feeling optimistic about the future. I was
Yeah, I can use a few more rides, of course.
Based on how some of the dress rehearsal visits went, I was worried that it was going to be a total dumpster fire, and it's actually perfectly fine. Like, it's not like stellar in its operation, but it's brand new. Like, I think it's going about as well as you could hope a brand new park could go. And it's very exciting. The prospects are very promising. The third ride for Dark Universe is going to be huge. It's going to do a huge improvement on the overall scope of the experience and for balancing things out. And I'm hoping, and then like another restaurant for Celestial Park, maybe another ride for Celestial Park would be nice. I don't know if that's even something they're considering, but like it's a really the park is a solid foundation.
So there's. And I will say, like, if one really major ride were to be down, like if Stardust was down, it was obviously noticeably like a void in the lineup. If Monsters is down, or Mario Kart, or Minecart Madness even, or Ministry, like if any of those are down, you really are going to have like a significantly less great experience. Because first of all, capacity of those rides really carries a lot for the park, because it's not a lot of rides for a pretty decently attended park. But also just for experience, it leaves you with a lot less, like there's a couple of really big puzzle pieces here, but if one of them falls away, it's in all aspects of the experience, that's going to be negatively affecting your experience. So adding another really major ride, such as the rumored Creatures of the Black Lagoon boat/roller coaster ride, that would really make a big difference, because you just need a couple of more things to do in order for, because there's going to be an inevitable window where there's going to be one of the major rides that's going to have to go down for a reason, just like Stardust just had to do for maintenance or for whatever reason, that it's going to impact the experience if you don't have more stuff to offer. So they definitely need to expand, but what they've got right now, generally speaking, it's just good stuff. Like I don't think like anything there is that weak of a link. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the rides, but all things considered, for like a general theme park experience, I think it's all around a good experience.
Yeah, me too. I don't know when we're going to go back, but I look forward. I'm sure we'll go back sometime next year. I look forward to going again.
I'm willing to buy like a day ticket, but not all the time. You know what I'm saying?
This was our most relaxing visit. It was our best, 100%. Easiest, most chill visit to the park by far. I felt like pressure was off, and we got to do everything we wanted and then some, and really enjoyed our time. And for me, the final takeaway would be that like the staff experiences were amazing. The staff members
100%
in the park, the team members in the park were awesome. Like so many different team member experiences were noticeably positive. And that's a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
That's you've got that. You have a lot. It makes everything else feel fine.
Yeah, it's all about the vibe, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So also considered, great visit. And we actually also just went to Canada's Wonderland like last 2 weeks ago, and in Great America. So we have episodes about Great America for a little bit earlier this season.
We have a recent 3 Saturdays in a row.
Oh, that's crazy.
In 3 totally different regions. We did Toronto, the Bay Area, and Orlando.
That's right. So we have an episode about our visit to Canada's Wonderland. That's pretty recent. I recommend checking that out. We talk all about Alpine Fury and Yukon Striker. We, of course, have our previous episode about California's Great America from early this season, where we kind of discuss like the park and what the future may actually hold for it. And then we got a bunch of other stuff like Cedar Point, the parks, like Circus America's closing this week. So we have an episode about that. And, of course, we have our original episode about Epic Universe. And we also have an episode about where we rank all Universal parks worldwide, including Epic Universe. And I don't think our rankings really changed, so that's actually great. So make sure to check out those episodes, and we will catch you guys again on an episode very quick. And thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.